I watched my mother commit suicide right in front of me. I went to school the same day. As a man, one of the most important things is to feel respected. And I knew that no one respected me. If you have a business partner that has the exact same skills as you will fail.
So welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special episode with a friend of mine called Jamie, and I'm sure that his story will definitely inspire a lot of people. So yeah, without further ado, Jamie, man, introduce yourself.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. My name's Jamie. I own a property investment company, a development company, pretty much the same thing. Investment company developments, mainly buying HMOs. I also own a construction company, well, two. So one for property maintenance and a second for property refurbishments for customers and for myself. We operate mainly across the UK, all over the UK, other than south of London. Okay. So we haven't seemed to dominate that area yet. It's just a completely whole nother beast to get into London and below. And then some of our biggest customers are the likes of like Countrywide for lettings agents. Yeah. We mainly do business to business work, just because you can charge more. And, yeah, of course, as you know. But I started off in property, wanting to do the whole generic BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance, and it just turned into a completely whole nother beast because I can imagine I couldn't afford I couldn't afford to do property. Yeah. I needed to get away into of course to starting it.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. I actually first met you at a networking event in central London.
Yeah, in Mayfair, yes. Yeah. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the, I think it was the high net worth investor event or something like that, yes.
So yeah, I met you at that event, and I think the moment I started speaking to you, I think 2 minutes into the conversation, I think I was actually meant to head out. But 2 minutes into our conversation, I was like, this guy's story is crazy.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, when there's inspiration and there's inspiration, and I feel like your story was definitely a massive inspiration.
Appreciate
so yeah, tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are. Let's talk about like from your upbringing to get to where you are today.
Well, do you want to go like right far back to
that? Let's go right far back because I want people to really be inspired.
Okay, no, fine, that's fine. So I'm originally from a small town called Barrow-in-Furness up in the Lake District, northwest. Absolute shit out of dive. Like, I mean, no offence to anyone from there. It's a very small, intimate town. It's an industrial town. It's where they build the Navy submarines for BAE Systems. Yeah. Everybody knows everyone. I had, let's say, I don't like to say like my upbringing as like a boo-hoo me, as in like you've watched the story. Of course, yeah. It's like, so what? Yeah. But the story is basically, I had a dog shit upbringing. I had a bad childhood. Mm-hmm. I was abused as a child by my parents. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't like to do this as like a boohoo me or I'm glad of the upbringing that I've had, because without that, I wouldn't be as mentally screwed as I am, which is what I used as like a catalyst to push forward. Yeah. But yeah, as I was abused as a child, I lived with my mum and I say stepdad, but her boyfriend at the time, up until the ages of 11. I used to get locked in my bedroom for days on end by him. I won't say his name. I used to have to use the corner of my room for a toilet. I used to get locked in the room with like a hoover on the outside of the door. He used to beat us up and abuse us. I used to go into school black and blue. I used to lie and say that I was like, it was tickling me and I fell over, or just when I'd have like bruises on me and stuff like that. Any excuse I could, because I didn't want to. I had this like chip on my shoulder that like, why was I different? Wow. Because obviously other kids around me, they had their own upbringing of like, I'm sure some of them had their own issues and trauma. I don't consider mine worse than anyone else's, but that was just it became kind of like the normal for me was to be struggling. Wow. And I never understood quite why. I kind of almost become very, like, let's say, cold. Nothing, like now, for example, I still struggle to empathize with a lot of things. Wow. So, because I'm always like, oh, like, as in, again, this is just a normal, trauma's normal now. As in, if it's, if I'm not struggling, I'm probably bored. Wow. But that's due to the upbringing, I guess. But yeah, I remember one day when I was 12, I watched my mother commit suicide. Wow. Right in front of me. Then I went to school the same day. I never cried. And I'm not saying this because of like a well done me. I'm saying this because that's how emotionless I eventually became. As in, like, I was just like, oh, okay, next. And then I ended up living with my grandma after that. My biological father was in and out of prison pretty much my entire childhood. He was into drugs and very violent man.
Oh.
He tried to teach me right from wrong. He did the whole do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Because he taught me basically don't follow in his footsteps.
Yeah.
So he was very good like that. When he eventually came out of prison when I was around 13 or 14, he then never went back at that point, but he then was a carer for his father,
Okay.
so my granddad. It was just me and my grandma. It was pure poverty. Again, not boohoo me. I'm just saying it was pure poverty. We didn't struggle to eat. She used to get like all of her money that she earned. It was taken from her by my dad because he'd go and buy drugs.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like the main thing. So we were always scrimping. I used to go to like the corner shops and steal like little chocolate muffins and stuff just to be able to try and live.
Yeah.
Then growing up, I was on like the free tokens for school dinners. I loved them actually. I thought they were great.
I know.
they were probably the best. That was probably the best days that I had.
Yeah.
Then after that, I was 17, and my biological father, he basically bought this motorbike, and he was incredibly high on drugs.
Yeah.
He got on the motorbike and came round to my grandma's house where I was living to show me the bike. On the way round, because like I said, he was incredibly high.
Yeah.
He fell off the bike and skidded into a wall and just died there on the spot, right at the top of my street.
Wow.
So that was an eventful day, I guess. We just heard a big bang outside the house. Went outside. We then seen a big crowd of people. Realised what had gone on. And I blame myself for that for years. And I mean, I literally blame myself. And a lot of people say, "How can you blame yourself?" But basically, he bought this motorbike the day before he died. He was asking me if he could come and show me the bike the day before, and I said no because I was too busy with my girlfriend at the time trying to get laid, and I was a fucking idiot. And I was thinking, oh, if you weren't just so selfish trying to get laid, he then wouldn't have felt the need to come and show you the bike the next day. Now that's a wrong mentality to have. 100%. You can't blame yourself. 100%. But I did that until my late 20s.
Wow.
I mean, like easily 26, 27 years old, I was still constantly blaming myself for that. But yeah, that was the childhood, and it was just a pure slog and a pure struggle, as a lot of childhoods were. Like living in council estates and council flats and houses. It was crap.
It's interesting. First of all, I respect the fact that you still kept going. Because I feel like a lot of people, they do go through a lot of hardships, and I feel like sometimes in life, people can go through hardships and they can, I guess, dwell on that and allow that to stop them from, doing further things. But, what I like about you is that you didn't allow none of your hardships to stop you from, achieving everything that you've achieved.
Yeah, I always say you either have two paths when you've had a struggle. There's two paths you can go down when you've had a really troubled childhood. You either let it be something you dwell on and you end up on like an episode of Jeremy Kyle, or you use it as a catalyst to actually push you forward because you've seen the life that you do not want for your future family or your loved ones or the people around you or your future kids or just for yourself. You've just seen the life that you do not want again. And that can be, for some people, that's a motivator, or it can just be you are now acting in pure fear of ending up like that. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, of course. I think it's fair to say that what you went through, that was probably the lowest period of your life. Would you say?
No.
Oh, wow.
Nowhere near. Because when you go through them type of traumatic events at a young age, you kind of, I can't sit here and pretend I know exactly what it's like because I was 12.
Of course.
I hadn't experienced life yet. I still didn't really know what was going on much. I'd say the lowest point of my life is when I was in the military for 9 years. And towards the end of my military career, I suffered really badly with depression, PTSD, social anxiety. I tried to kill myself twice. I gained loads of weight. I was on antidepressants. I hated every single thing about my life and me. I was broke. Military does not pay well. It's a respectable career, but it's not a financial career. It's and I think that was the lowest because then when I'm a fully grown adult, I was like 28 at the time. I knew exactly like I knew exactly how I felt. I knew how to process all the information around me, and that was probably the lowest point. I hated everything about my life. I hated everything about me physically. I hated other people. I didn't want to be around people, socializing. Social media was like a bugbear of mine. I couldn't, that was probably the worst, and that's because I was in a mental state where I knew exactly what was going on,
Of course.
and I couldn't handle it at the time.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was the most mentally challenging.
So during that period, when you went through the lowest period of your life, what gave you the strength to keep going? Because a lot of people, when they do face adversity, for a lot of people, it's difficult for them to keep going. A lot of people just want to like stop or quote unquote end it all. But what gave you the strength to keep going?
For me, I think it was more. This might sound bad. It was more ego, because I had such a chip on my shoulder of thinking I'm so independent. I got to a point where I was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, as you know yourself, as a man, one of the most important things is to feel respected.
Yeah.
And I knew that no one respected me, because why would they? I've done nothing that's noteworthy to be respectable, like to be respected.
Yeah.
I'd done nothing. I had a crap paying job. I hadn't done anything that of like proper achievement. I had no family. No one wrong-eyed on me. If I died tomorrow, no one would have, like I had no friends. No one really would have cared. That's probably a selfish comment to make.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there would have been.
Yeah.
But in my mind, no one really like cared about me. I didn't have any family to rely on me because they were all dead. So it got to a point where I was just like, you know what, no one respects me, and kind of ego took over a bit of, I need to be respected. I need to do something where people don't just look at me and go, oh, he's just like the rest of his family. Like, because where I'm from, everyone knows everyone.
Okay.
So like I said, everyone knew my family and knew me as the like pretty much of a loser, really.
Yeah.
No family, done nothing noteworthy. So that for me was kind of like the kick in the arse of, I've got no money, I've got no achievements, I've got no respect. I need to do something. And it was out of that anger and fear of lack of respect and accomplishment that then made me go, right, pull your finger out. Let's do something.
Yeah, that's interesting. So at that point, you were in army, left the army, and then what was next for you? What was the next turning point?
Well, so technically, I actually only left the army this March. Not army, sorry, I was actually in the Air Force.
Okay.
But so I only left the Air Force this March just gone. But because I was medically discharged, but that was by choice.
Okay.
That was what I was hoping to get.
Okay, cool.
Because then I got kicked out basically, but with a more beneficial package for me.
Okay.
But I stopped working for the military 2 years ago, and I actually came across whether you like him or not, a Samuel Leeds video.
Okay.
Like a lot of
It's a
people.
bit like me, to be fair, so yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I came across one of his videos that made me think, oh, you know what? I like new to property. He made it sound like a dream, like he usually does.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not as easy as he sells it.
Yeah.
However, the principles of what he teaches were still correct.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the different strategies that you can get in, like rent to rent, source sourcing, deal packaging, all that type of stuff. Buy to let HMOs, all the general strategies are still an amazing thing to do. It's just how easy is it is the actual real question. But I spent a year and a half or a year or so doing like education. So I went with Jamie York, who's quite big on YouTube, and
Yeah, I'm aware of him.
I did a deal packaging course. I started off as a deal packager, and I realised very quickly that deal packaging just was not for me.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Every event that I went to, which is like where we met,
Yeah.
there was so many deal packages there, and everyone was just trying to find an investor.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to be doing this. So I got to a point where I was like, right, how do I do my idea of just BRR, 'cause that's all I really want, but how do I do that as quickly as possible?
Got you.
Which is then when I came across my business partner, Abhishek, who was a part of the Jamie York's mentoring thing. And he had £20,000 in the bank, and I had like a few £100. I had nothing. And I remember him saying, look, I've got 20 grand in my account, but I don't really know where to invest at the moment, and because it was not going to go far, 20 grand.
Yeah, of course.
So I was like, right, how do I make money off this?
Yeah.
So I said, right, okay, how about you put the 20 grand in as a deposit? we'd now had all this education, so I understood what bridging finance was and how to leverage money at
Yeah.
this point. So I said, right, you put 20 grand in, we'll leverage bridging finance, we'll go purchase our first property up in the northwest where it's nice and cheap,
Okay.
because that's where I'm from, so I
Yeah.
knew that it was really cheap.
Yeah.
And I'll pay for the refurbishment. And I had no way of paying for the refurbishment. I didn't have a clue how I was going to pay for the refurbishment.
Wow.
And he just went, yeah, fuck it, let's go for it. So we created a company. How ours works is I own a company, he owns a company,
Okay.
which when we then split 50-50
Okay.
to own another company.
Okay.
That's our structure. And then he put the money in the account. I found this property on Rightmove for 53 grand. Nice and cheap, 2-bed terraced house.
Wow. Where is that exactly?
They're up in Barrow-in-Furness.
Okay. Okay.
We spent 27 grand on the refurb and it was worth 115
Wow.
at the end. So we actually managed to pull all of our money out after the refinance,
Wow.
because you can refinance 75% of the new value.
Of course.
But I couldn't afford the refurbishment. So what I did was I had a local friend who I knew worked for a property maintenance company,
Yes.
which is then how we then started our maintenance empire.
Yeah.
But it was because I said to him, look, can you do the refurbishment for me on my property on a weekend?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, sure. And I was thinking, crap, how the hell do I pay him?
Yeah. Before we go further
for
into that, when it comes to picking a business partner, because a lot of people go into business and, when it comes to picking a business partner, it's not the easiest thing. So what was it about your current business partner that made you 100% let's go for it?
He's everything that I'm not.
Interesting.
You do not want a business partner that is the same as you. If you have a business partner that has the exact same skills as you, you will fail. In my opinion.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of times.
No, I understand that, because even in my structure, anybody I go into business with, they have to add something different to me.
Yeah.
Because where I may lack, they may, be the strength in that part.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Me and my business partner, for example, he's an absolute animal at numbers, analytics, like back end systems and processes. Excel spreadsheet is his bitch. He is an animal at it.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to me, I'm sales. I'm the guy who can deal with all the staff. I'm the guy who can do all of the dealing with customers. Whereas he's not that. He can deal with customers, he can deal with staff, but he, for example, he's terrible at sales, and he'll openly tell you that he's not. Is it?
Yeah.
He's actively trying to improve on that. Whereas I'm terrible at some of the back end stuff that he's good at.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, a business partner, it's a 1 + 1 = 3 situation.
I get that.
They have to be the opposite skills to you. Yeah. All of your weaknesses need to be their strength.
Yeah. Before you actually decided to go into property, did you not dibble and dabble into any other industries?
Yeah, I did. I tried everything. Like I said, when I was in the military, I was broke. Okay. So I tried doing things like drop shipping.
Okay.
I tried to do affiliate marketing. I tried a bit of photography. I tried a bit of creating websites. I failed at every single one of them. I can't count how many dropshipping stores I'd created on Shopify.
Yeah.
And I'd failed at every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I probably spent a few grand on them. I know it's not a lot compared to what people do, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just watching YouTube videos on try to get rich quick schemes and all these. Yeah, I failed at every one of them.
I feel like a lot of people, especially when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of people want to try different things, and there's something that I call temporary failure. So what you experience with dropshipping and Amazon FBA or whatever you've done, that's quote unquote temporary failure, because there comes a point where you're like, you know what, maybe I should try something else. So I don't say it's failure, because if you went long enough, you probably could have began to see some results. But my question is, at what point did you realize, you know what, this isn't for me, maybe I should try something else? Because a lot of people, they try a business, they might try 1 year, 2 years, but it doesn't actually click with them that, you know what, let me try something else. So at what point did you realize, you know what, dropshipping is not for me? It
was every time I realized that I was terrible at a certain aspect of the... So, for example, dropshipping, a big part of it is being able to market the product, as in by creating the landing page, and I was that for me, that was where my main weakness was. I was like, right, I'm really bad at the design. I'm really bad at the creation of the marketing of the product. For me, that was then right, I'm probably wasting my time doing this now. And at the time, I didn't have the correct mentality. Like now, if I have a problem and I can't do it, I just think, right, so who can?
Okay, yeah.
Who within my vicinity can solve this problem for me? Who can I give this to who will get this job done?
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't. So I was thinking I had to do everything myself, and it was the complete wrong mentality in business. I was thinking I was like a sole lone ranger. So with every single business I tried, as soon as I ended up hitting a bottleneck of something that I was bad at, that's when I'd be like, right, cut it, let's go again, let's find something else.
Yeah.
It was only property then I realised that because property is such a beast that you have no choice to use other people.
Yeah.
That was when I learned quickly your network is everything. So that was when I realised that one is then the best path to go down. It's also the least riskiest, in my opinion.
Okay.
No, other people may disagree, but I think property is the least riskiest.
Yeah.